The Z-Kral warship loomed over the barren plains, its jagged metallic hull casting an imposing shadow. A single figure descended from its ramp, taller than any human, clad in ornate armor etched with the scars of 100 battles. His name was hfy, a champion of the Z-Kral Empire, and he had come not to negotiate, but to challenge. A deep, guttural voice echoed across the gathered human delegation. By the customs of my people, only the strong earn respect. Your world stands at a crossroads, submit as vassals, or prove your worth in single combat. The air was thick with tension. World leaders exchanged uncertain glances, their security teams frozen in place. Every scan and calculation confirmed the same truth: hfy was beyond anything humanity could match in raw physicality. This was a species bred for war, where battle was not just survival, but honor. Then came the second revelation: the conditions. No firearms, no advanced weaponry. Only a weapon of tradition, the spear. It was an absurd demand in a modern age of warfare, but to the Z-Kral, it was the only way to measure a civilization's true warriors. There was no immediate volunteer. Military champions hesitated, knowing brute force would fail. The silence stretched, the weight of it crushing. Then, a single voice cut through. I'll do it. Dr. Alan Carter stepped forward, not a soldier, not an athlete, an anthropologist. The disbelief was palpable. A civilian? A scholar? The murmurs of doubt surged. But Carter met their gazes with unwavering confidence. If this is about tradition, then let's use tradition. The Z-Kral warrior's gaze swept over Carter, assessing, then scoffing. You are no warrior. You will die quickly. Carter didn't flinch. Then I die standing. There was no turning back. The terms were set. The duel would take place at dawn, under the watchful eyes of both species. The world held its breath. The sun barely crested the horizon as Carter stepped into the makeshift arena. The ground was hard-packed dirt, chosen to offer no advantage to either side. Across from him, hfy rolled his shoulders, the weight of his massive spear resting easily in one hand. His crimson eyes locked onto Carter, unblinking, already seeing him as prey. The signal was given. hfy moved first. He closed the distance with terrifying speed, his spear slicing through the air in a blur. Carter barely dodged, the blade whistling past his ribs. The crowd gasped. He couldn't match the alien's strength, not directly. But he wasn't here to overpower. He was here to outthink. He kept moving, forcing hfy to chase. The alien lunged again, but Carter sidestepped, twisting away just as the spear embedded into the dirt. hfy yanked it free with little effort, but Carter had already seen it. His strikes were powerful, but committed. Overextension. Carter feinted left, baiting an attack. hfy took it. The spear thrusted forward, but Carter wasn't there anymore. He ducked, pivoted, and struck not with brute force, but precision. His spearhead slashed across hfy's shoulder. A thin line of dark blood welled up. The alien paused. Then, to the shock of many, he grinned. A flicker of respect. But now, he fought seriously. hfy attacked with renewed aggression, adjusting. Carter found himself forced back, barely blocking each strike. The sheer force sent vibrations up his arms. A single direct hit would end him. But he noticed something: hfy's breathing had changed. Carter pressed his advantage, making himself an elusive target, forcing the alien to work harder. The duel was no longer about strength. It was about endurance. And Carter intended to make hfy fight his fight. hfy's strikes became wilder, his breathing heavier. The change was subtle, but Carter saw it: Earth's gravity, its oxygen levels, they were wearing him down. The Z-Kral warrior wasn't built for prolonged exertion in this environment. He was strong, fast, but his body was working harder than it should. Carter adjusted his stance, shifting from defense to control. He didn't need to overpower hfy, he just needed to push him past his limits. He baited another lunge, rolling aside at the last second. hfy stumbled, just for a moment, but it was enough. Carter struck low, sweeping the alien's leg. The impact wasn't devastating, but it was unexpected. hfy staggered back, snarling. The frustration in his eyes was clear now. He wasn't used to being outmaneuvered. He had expected a fight of raw strength, not one of tactics. The rigid traditions that had served his people for centuries were betraying him against a species that didn't fight by the same rules. Viekor roared and charged, spear raised high for a final, crushing blow. But Carter was already moving. He didn't meet force with force, he sidestepped, twisted, and drove his spear forward. Not a killing strike, but a precise one, aimed at the joint of Viekor's armor. The weapon bit deep, and Viekor collapsed onto one knee. For the first time, silence fell over the battlefield. Carter stood, spear leveled at his opponent's throat. The unstoppable warrior of the Zedkral was beaten not by brute force, but by adaptability. By strategy. By a human. Viekor looked up, breathing hard, his gaze locked onto Carter. Then, slowly, he lowered his weapon. A single word left his lips, heavy with meaning. Yield. The moment hung in the air, heavy with the weight of history. The Zedkral were a species that lived by the blade, where surrender was unthinkable. And yet, Viekor had yielded not from weakness, but from recognition. He rose to his feet, towering over Carter, but there was no anger in his eyes. He studied the human before him, then planted his spear into the ground between them. A gesture not of defeat, but of respect. The Zedkral warship above remained motionless. No retribution came. Instead, a transmission echoed from its depths, the voice of their high command. The challenge has been met. Honor has been proven. Earth stands as an equal. The weight of those words was immeasurable. The world had braced for conquest, for war. Instead, they had won something greater: recognition, an alliance forged not through submission, but through the unlikeliest of victories. Viekor grasped his spear and held it out, offering it to Carter. A gift. A symbol. He had come expecting to dominate, but had left understanding something far more valuable. Strength was not just in power, but in adaptability. Carter accepted the weapon, his fingers closing around its worn grip. He was no soldier, no warrior in the traditional sense. But in that moment, he had proven that humanity's greatest weapon had never been muscle or steel. It was the ability to think, to evolve, to turn the impossible into victory. As the Zedkral ship ascended, the world exhaled. The duel was over, but its impact would ripple through history. Humanity had not just survived. It had been seen. And for the first time, the stars did not seem so far away.